I'm Jeff Cornwall, and this is the Entrepreneurial Mind. Today my guest is Mitch Ballard. We'll be back to talk to Mitch after this. Welcome, Mitch.
Dr. Cornwall, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Well, it's great having you here. You're with DevDigital and a partner in DevDigital, and which is a company that's near and dear to my heart, since you guys have done all the fabulous work on the Entrepreneurial Mind website that we're very proud of and appreciate that. But I want to talk with you a little bit about your story and your journey, kind of how you got to where you are, because you started out in the music industry.
Sure.
You were not a tech guy, and your partner's more of a tech guy, and you were living the dream in the music industry, right?
That's it. I was working for an artist management company at the time, and we had a couple of artists that were having hit records. And back then, the only way that you really got in front of the fans were by getting on one of the television shows on one of the networks,
right,
or getting into one of the magazines. And then you had a monthly fan club. The people would sign up for the fan club, and you would send them a newsletter.
Right, in the mail.
In the mail.
So this is the 90s?
This was, 96, 97.
Right.
And prior to that as well, but when I really got involved on that artist management end. And we were sitting around talking about other ways. Fanfare was coming up.
Right.
And we were talking about other ways that we could engage fans and such. And I looked at the guys I was working for, and I literally said this to them. I said, I don't know what this new internet thing is, but it's cool, and I think we need to be on it.
and you guys were dealing with country artists?
Yes.
So, a funny story. A couple of my former students started a company called Oompa, who I'm sure you know.
Sure. Yeah, I know those guys well.
And when they were first trying to their first angle was dealing with apps for musicians. And they tried to sell to, it wasn't Fanfare anymore then, they had changed the name to
right,
whatever
CMA
it is.
Music
CMA
Fest.
Music, yeah, whatever
right.
it is. And they were trying to sell their app to that. I don't know if I'm even supposed to tell the story, but they told it in class, so I hope I'm okay with this. And basically they were told that country fans don't carry around smartphones, so it wasn't a good play for them. So, I mean, how did you overcome that kind of a bias at that point? Because that's always been the bias about country fans is, and I'm one of them, we're a little backwards compared to other.
Well, and this was 1997 as well, and everything was still new.
Right.
And so they told me, said, well, go figure out how to get us online then. If it's your idea, you're going to own it. And back then it was hard to find somebody that did, this was just basic HTML.
Right.
It's hard to find somebody, and they were expensive, and we were, a frugal company. And I found a program for 99 bucks. I said, you buy me this program, I'll learn how to do it myself. And so it was really easy for us to get into it. There wasn't a lot of cost to get into the game. I was already on salary, and the program was 99 bucks, and I did a lot of the work after hours or at my house.
Right.
So
right.
It was really, it didn't cost much to experiment. But what we found is we ended up doing an e-commerce piece to it. We found that we could have an income stream online. It wasn't huge numbers, but we were finding that people were adopting to it.
Wow. So it was, that was really pioneering in the music industry at that point to do something like that.
There wasn't many artists that, Clay Walker was the first country artist to have a website online, and years later he's now a client of DevDigital and has been for about 7 years. And
that's awesome.
But he was the first to do it, and we weren't far behind.
So okay, but you're still in the industry at this point. All right,
Still
now you're a tech genius because you figured out how to do a website. And,
right.
And in those days, you were a tech genius at that point.
I mean, if you could get something online, that was tough.
Man,
not many people could do it.
I tell you what. So, but how did you get from there to where you are? I mean, that's still a big journey along the way.
Well, I ended up going out on the road. I was tour managing BJ Thomas and got him an online store set up that ended up, really cash flowing nicely for him. Just kind of money that came into the, inbox,
right.
every month. And
right.
I was traveling a couple hundred days out of the year, and that starts to wear on you. And the business model of the music industry was changing, and you were seeing the shrinking revenue streams. You were seeing the industry shrink as a whole.
Yeah, this wonderful thing, the internet that gave you those websites, was changing everything.
Exactly.
Right.
And I could see the effect that it was having, and had an opportunity. I got a phone call. I was out on the road with a guy named Colin Ray, and got a phone call from Rick Eller, who was GM of WV Fiber, Peter Markham's
right.
company. He was CEO.
Right.
And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Man, I'm out on the road with Colin Ray." And he goes, "Man, we are building an online record label, virtual record label. We need somebody who knows the music business and knows the internet. You're the first person I thought of."
Right.
So it was a great opportunity to get off the road and not be gone all the time. It's fun, but it's a younger man's game to be gone that much.
Right.
And so that's how I kind of made the transition out of the music business full-time into technology full-time.
But you're still an employee at this point. I mean, how did you become a technology entrepreneur?
We had 8 programmers.
Okay.
And Peter came to me one day and said, "I've got good news and I've got bad news." I said, "All right, give me the bad news first." He goes, "We're selling the fiber optic company and they don't want the programming division, so you're out of a job." I said, "All right." I said, "What's the good news?" He goes, "Man, I like you." And we were starting to get some other clients as well, and Clay Walker came on board with us and some other people, and he goes, "You know, like you, I like what we're doing here, and I think there's potential. If you're interested, I believe we can acquire the company, but there's no money in the bank and we're not funded." And so went and thought about it and was in a position to take the risk, and there was 8 of us. Now 7 years later, there's over 75 of us.
Right.
So that's how
with a big chunk of your employees over in India as well, which is an interesting business model.
Exactly. And Peter had a business partner who was on the board of the fiber optic company from Baroda, India.
Right.
He lived in Florida, and he had these programmers, and they got brought in to work on this project. And so we kind of did the model opposite. We acquired the company overseas, built the business over here, instead of kind of the opposite. So.
Wow. So do you ever have a longing for the music industry, or are you glad you're kind of in a new sector now?
Every now and then, and when I do, I'll call up a friend and I'll get on the bus with them and go out for a weekend, and then after I get back on,
enough of that fun.
Enough of that fun. We rolled into. It's funny you said that, because I was out and we pulled up one morning in Indianapolis, and it was 23 degrees outside, and the gate to the club was supposed to be unlocked, and it wasn't.
Right.
And I'm walking outside with the bus driver, who I happen to know very well, and I'd probably done 500,000 miles on the road with him, and he goes, "Well, you're not missing it now, are you?" "No, I'm not."
Well, that's an amazing journey, and it's really cool. And I mean, you guys, it's a great company you guys are building, and I'm honored to be associated with that. So,
well, we'd love being involved with you, and you know, getting involved with your website and what you're building there, and being in, I know you've had Peter here on the show as well, and we're very honored that we're involved, and
absolutely
great to become friends as well.
Great company, great story. Thanks very much.
I appreciate it, Dr. Cornwall. Thanks.